Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Bo Bounds, Blake Scott, Locked On Mississippi State. Today we're going to hit the biggest acquisition of the offseason as far as Mississippi State football and talk a little bit about the defensive line. Then we're going to hit what happened in basketball over the weekend with the HailState Dogs and HailState baseball. That's what we're going to do. Bo Bounds, Blake Scott, Locked On Mississippi State.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Blake, here we go. Locked On Mississippi State, Blake Scott, Bo Bounds. Biggest off-season acquisition as far as Mississippi State football. Now, we had a lot go on, but I want to talk players, okay? And to me, it's pretty simple. They picked up an SEC starter at the quarterback position to back up Will Rogers and Mike Wright, who was at Vanderbilt. And a lot of people look at him and say, well, he can't play. He was at Vanderbilt. Well, they're wrong. He can play. And I'm a firm believer. First of all, he's proven he can win some SEC games with the worst talent in the league. All right. Now, does he need to get better, become more refined, throwing the ball? Yes. Do I think Kevin Barbay can help him with that? Yes. Do I think he's going to be Dan Fouts? No. But I'm going to say this. When you look at his size and his athleticism and Mike Wright's ability to hurt you with his legs, Blake, here's where I'm going with this, is I always like for my backup quarterback in college, maybe even NFL, to be more run-oriented because you can get them in a week. Let's say Will Rogers takes a shot and he has to take a week off.
Yep.
You can get them in. Kevin Barbay can figure out how to do some zone you're going to see Mississippi State go back to some of that. You can install that in a couple of days, and you can get Simeon Price and Woody Marks and Mike Wright going. And then if some things open up in the passing game, Blake, that weekend,
absolutely,
you can do it. But Mike Wright can hurt you with his legs. Plus, he can make the other two run, or three, depending on how many they play. And Tulu may be doing some jet sweeps and so on. But I think he makes everybody better at 6'4", 220.
It's a dynamic piece, and I think what you're hinting at is something that the NFL has been scratching around on lately, and college football has utilized at a much higher level over the last 20 years.
Right.
And that's the high floor, the high baseline of mobility.
Yeah.
Mobility, what's the best way? We all know how to run, right? Like I don't need to train on how to run. And if I'm a fast guy.
Well, because you're an elite runner.
Well, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like it takes, so if I have to throw the ball, I need my offensive line to block well. I need my receivers to run their routes correctly. I need them to be on time. I have to read the defense correctly. I have to release the ball on time, anticipate, and make all of that work. What do I have to do to be able to run the ball? I have to catch the snap, and then I have to run.
Right.
It's just a different floor. It's a different baseline for success. So I like what you're saying. It's something that Dan Mullen built 9 years of success in Starkville on one central idea, and that was the 11th guy on offense being mobile.
Right.
He spent 9 years building that. Mike Leach was never going to be that.
Right.
He was successful, but he was never going to be that. Kevin Barbay, you hope, will be the happy marriage of Mike Leach and Dan Mullen, kind of in the middle.
All I had to do was watch the App State Texas A&M game last year to know that Barbay is willing to do that.
Yep.
Bo Bounds, Blake Scott, Locked On Mississippi State. And one more thing, Blake, is Mike Wright, if he has to play a game or two, he can win you an SEC game. Not against Bama, but he can win you an SEC game. And, Blake, when the play breaks down, he can hurt you.
Yeah. I think that's
really, really potent and important.
When you are Mississippi State, when you are Arkansas, South Carolina, Ole Miss.
Right.
Spoiler alert for those of you just joining the SEC football watching party, things don't always go well for you in 60 minutes. In fact, we find that there are many times where plays break down in those situations. Will Rogers, I think, will be deceptively more mobile than you thought he was through 3 seasons under Mike Leach.
I agree.
However, he is not Mike Wright. He is not Matt Corral. He is not, I mean, we're not even going to go to Nick Fitzgerald because that's crazy talk.
Right.
But he's not in that vein. Mike Wright is more in that vein.
Yes.
So it will be interesting to see twofold. One, how Will does in a system that will allow him to use a little bit more of the pocket mobility is the word I like to use. He's not going to break 20-yard runs, but if he can move in the pocket and create an extra second to get a guy open or take 5 yards on 2nd and 10 and make it 3rd and 5, that's huge. But what do they put into the system for Mike Wright? Because like you said, quarterback is the hottest position. It's the one that we all talk about, we all focus on. Will Kevin Barbay have red zone or 3rd and short, 4th and short packages that utilize Mike Wright? That will be interesting.
I'm going with a heck yes.
We haven't had it since Mike Leach took office, so to speak, in 2020.
Yeah,
so.
Right. I mean, Joe Moorhead did with Garrett Schrader, and I thought Garrett did an amazing job as a true freshman, considering things weren't really going well around him.
Yeah.
And he was like Mike Wright. He had the ability to create some juice, and even at times an explosive play, Blake, with his legs. I think Mike Wright can do that. All right, Locked On Mississippi State, Bo Bounds and Blake Scott. One other thing I want to hit, maybe two on football, Blake.
I'm ready.
And again, Mike Wright has the wheels to put pressure on defenses. Travion Williams could be the next star at Mississippi State. Defensive lineman, Crystal Springs, didn't get a lot of PT last year.
Yep.
They have a much better defensive line coach in David Turner, Blake, who has coached some really good players. This could be his coming out party. And this will be the best Mississippi State defensive line since 2018 with Jeffrey Simmons and Montez Sweat. Now, am I saying that this defensive line will be as good as 2018? Of course I'm not. But with Crumity coming back and Nathan Pickering, okay, and Travion Williams, among others, this is going to be the most talented, and I believe now with David Turner as a defensive line coach, the most productive D-line that they have had since 2018.
I think State fans have asked for a long time, because 2018 might as well be 10 years ago. I mean, I know it's only 5, but it feels like it could be a decade ago.
Sure.
State fans have asked, where is the next, again, I hate to say Chris Jones or Jeffrey Simmons because that's such the top end, but where's the next Pernell McPhee? Where's the next, where's the next Preston Smith? I mean, they're just asking for
those were phenomenal players.
Phenomenal. And they're not Chris Jones or Jeffrey Simmons, but they're right. I mean, heck, where's the next Montez Sweat, right? I mean, a guy who obviously it helped what was around him, but it's still a high-end talent. They haven't had that, it feels like, since Joe Moorhead took over. You had Willie Gay. We all know what happened. We lost 8 games of his last year.
And Crumity, you lost 8 games last year. Don't forget that.
Correct. So
he was a game wrecker when he got in.
If Travion Williams and Jaden Crumity together can be some version, some discounted version of Jeffrey Simmons, Montez Sweat, that kind of pairing, now all of a sudden things don't look as bad for Zach Arnett and a first-time coaching staff.
Right.
Because that's the disruptor. That the defensive front line will be your disruptor. State's gone through some pretty dang good secondary guys over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been the front 6, front 7 that you've struggled to find the wrecking ball. Boy, if Travion Williams is that, all of a sudden things get real interesting in year 1 for Zach Arnett.
And we'll also monitor Emmanuel Forbes in the NFL draft the next
combine this
couple
week.
months.
Yeah.
So Underwear Olympics combine this week. Bo Bounds, Blake Scott, Locked On Mississippi State, and Blake and I want to tell you about Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories, and I don't, Blake gives me a hard time, then you got to go Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal was eat a little healthier this year. And if you're like me, you want to eat healthier, but you don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got the thing for you. You got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. And seriously, they're so delicious, you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they are all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right. We know how much Blake loves chocolate. Real chocolate, including unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, or coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein, which I need. As Blake says, I'm really old. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, which we have here. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section. Grab yourself a box of Built bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in, grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. Woo! We're rolling here. And we have Locked On Mississippi State, Bo Bounds, and Blake Scott. And Blake, let's go to basketball.
Yes.
Chris Jans' team won their biggest game in like 13, 14 years in the program.
Yep.
Over the weekend against the hottest college basketball team in the country. Buzz Williams and Texas A&M had won 13 of 15 and 6 in a row, and Mississippi State got down 9. And they didn't allow Texas A&M to score for 12 minutes and 58 seconds in the second half.
Unheard of.
And Cam Matthews is playing at an elite level when it comes to college basketball, especially at the free throw line late. The guy's been nails. You mix in Tolu Smith and some other guys. Even DJ Jeffries dropped 9, which he's got to be, my number's 8 for him. You need 8+ from DJ. And then Shaq Moore showed back up in the scoring column, which was big because every point mattered, and they won. So they're in, according to Joe Lunardi, after this, well, going in and after the win, with a net ranking of 39 or 40, they're in, and that's exciting. Biggest win at the hump in 14, 15 years.
Yeah, I think you and I discussed this kind of off air and talking about what we were going to discuss today, and I think you got to go back to Stansbury like 08, 09 to find a win that felt like this. 2 things jumped out to me. First off, this win was so peak Chris Jans in year 1 at Mississippi State, it's not even funny. You already mentioned one stat that is a pure anomaly. How do you hold a team scoreless from the field? Now, they hit a couple free throws, but they didn't have a single basket for almost 13 minutes of a college basketball game.
And a team of that caliber.
That's what I'm shocked by, first off. That's incredible. And that's Chris Jans' defense, right? We know that that's how Chris Jans has been all year long. The second thing that stood out to me was the buy-in from the fan base.
Yeah.
How long have we sat here as Mississippians and Mississippi State fans over the last, 14 years? And it's been, well, why can't they fill the hump? Why aren't fans buying in? Well, obviously we know why they didn't buy into the Rick Ray era. We feel pretty confident we know why they didn't buy into the Ben Howland era. While they had a couple, but he never sold the program, and he didn't seem to inspire that fan buy-in.
I agree.
Chris Jans, in less than a calendar year, has won more big games than the program won in its entirety in the 2010 to 2020 years.
Right.
He's put more butts in the seats that cared about the outcome than anyone since Vic Schaefer was in Starkville. And I know that's shocking, but Chris Jans has done everything right through year 1.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been a shock. It's been an absolute mind-blowing shock that they are in a position to be in the NCAA tournament.
I didn't have them going to the NIT. So, yeah, the fact that they're a lock at the NIT right now and they're in March Madness as of today,
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. I think that you need DJ Jeffries to continue to just 3 to 4 baskets a game and be a threat. He makes Tolu and Cam Matthews that much better. I cannot believe that Cam Matthews can handle the ball the way he can, considering kind of, the position he plays and so on. Late in the game, didn't make a turnover. I was impressed.
Got to be the most important player on the team right now, right? I mean, you knew what Tolu had, so getting I hate to say that. It's kind of what we've done in the NFL with Patrick Mahomes. It's like, oh, he's great, so I just expect greatness. You expect Tolu to do what he did last night, 18 points, having a presence down low. So I don't want to take away from Tolu Smith, but Cam Matthews is the difference in being in this position and not.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I had an amazing Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary and wings and tacos at Two Brothers on Saturday in Starkville before the basketball and baseball game.
Smart. You got to get locked in.
Yeah.
I assume Chris Jan's got some wings and maybe a beverage after that win.
I saw his wife at Two Brothers on Friday.
Yeah. I'm assuming.
I saw Sherry Jans. She had a friend in from New Mexico. And I was with Brooks Bryan, who was on the 97, 98 College World Series teams, starter. And she's awesome. And like you said, Jans has had the ability. He's magnetic.
Yep.
And he's got the ability to sell the program to alums and students. And you referenced that 9,000+ at the game on Saturday was huge. So now they've got they get ready for South Carolina.
Yeah, tomorrow night in the hump again.
Late game, 8:00. Don't love that, but whatever. In the hump. And it mirrors the Mississippi State Southern Miss baseball game, although it starts earlier. Okay, so you'll be 2 hours into that game in Jackson. Should you beat South Carolina? Yes, but when you're limited the way they are on offense, you don't take anything for granted.
They shot 14% from three against Texas A&M.
I thought it was amazing.
And won. They shot 14% and won.
Yeah. I
think I would feel confident that if you gave me a basketball and I had even someone running out and closing out at me, I could hit more than 14% of 20 shots.
I know.
That's incredible. And yet they, I want to steal from John Rothstein, who is the obviously one of the biggest basketball analysts in the country.
He does a great job.
He's called Chris Jans the dentist because playing against Chris Jans is like taking a trip to the dentist, right? Getting your teeth filled or your cavities pulled out. Like, it's painful. It's excruciating. How excruciating is it to watch a team shoot 14% from three and then you still couldn't put a ball in the basket for 14 minutes almost?
That's miserable.
That's a root canal and a half, right?
And I'm glad that it happened so that they put themselves in position to punch their ticket. If they do that after the SEC tournament, it's going to be bonkers on this show and the Out of Bounds show on ESPN 105.9 The Zone, which you and I host from 7 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
So,
let me ask you this question. And I know we'll have time after this is all wrapped up because they still have 2 regular season games and they have games in Nashville for the SEC tournament. But is this the best first-year job we've ever seen in what Chris Jans is doing? And more importantly, are Mississippi State fans ready to back up the Brinks truck to make sure that you can replicate this type of excitement in your basketball program, something that, again, we haven't seen in 14 years?
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
It is, without a doubt, the best first year. And they are going to back up the truck.
Yeah. Are you ready to say they roll this over tomorrow night? I know we have time. We'll preview the game tomorrow as well, but you ready to say this momentum's there? I mean, I know they lost to Missouri in overtime, and that was tough. And they lost to Kentucky, who's looking like they're heading the right direction.
Yes, they win tomorrow
they're
night.
They won 6 of 8 now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Kentucky at home.
This team lost 5 games in a row and couldn't find a free throw if you gave it to them at the layup line.
And like you said, the overtime loss at Missouri.
Yeah.
And real quick.
Shocking.
Number 4 in defensive scoring efficiency in the country.
Yeah.
According to our friend, numbers nerd, Dave Bartu. Number 4 out of 350 teams.
Forced 12 steals against A&M. And again, I just can't it's a little bit like what Georgia did in football, where they said, hey, we're going to go old school and we're going to, crush people defensively. But 13 minutes, A&M had 1 made field goal in the last 14 minutes of play. They went nearly 13 minutes without a made field goal. I just don't know how to, it's like watching an alien come down from Mars and land in front of you and being like, oh, okay. Like, that's what you just saw last night, from Saturday night from Chris Jans and company. It's that out of worldly to go 13 minutes holding a team without a made field goal. I don't know. what I'd like to know is can we get Chris Jans to like motivate us to do any, Chris Jans, somebody I'd hire to tell me to do anything.
Absolutely.
Because he's clearly got it made.
So number 4, defensive scoring efficiency. And the problem is they're 308 on offense. But they've been finding a way to manufacture enough points to win. So Mississippi State beat A&M, and they play South Carolina tomorrow night. Bo Bounds, Blake Scott, Locked on Mississippi State podcast. And thanks again for making Locked on Mississippi State your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked on College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big-name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked on College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And we're rolling on a Monday, Locked on Mississippi State with Bo Bounds and Blake Scott. We've hit some football and how the acquisition pickup of Mike Wright, who will be the backup quarterback at Mississippi State, was huge for Zach Arnett and Kevin Barbay. Mike Wright from Vanderbilt will be, I think, a piece of the puzzle in the fall at times. Big kid, mobile, can hurt you with your legs, his legs. And then we hit Mississippi State basketball and their big win over the weekend with Texas A&M. Blake, let's go to baseball.
Oh, it's not a meltdown.
Well, we already had 3 in 1 week.
Yep.
They lost to VMI La Monroe. Well, the third one was on social media because you and I weren't on over the weekend, but it was Friday as they got hammered by Arizona State.
Yikes.
But then they come back and their pitching is really good, and they started really, really hammering the baseball, and they take the series against Arizona State. And things look better, much better, going into the Southern Miss game at Mississippi Braves Ballpark tomorrow night.
You've played 2 series. You have 2 series wins. I know that we're accustomed to royalty in college baseball here in the South and in Mississippi State, and so you expect to be undefeated. That's what everybody wants. In reality, that's never the case. No one's ever done it in college baseball, and no one ever will. If I had to bet, to me, it all stems off that one. If I was giving a game ball performance of this weekend, as much as the offense exploded in games 2 and 3, to me, it's Graham Antema, because you could have rolled out again on Saturday after what was an embarrassing performance Friday night from your pitching staff. And if things go south quickly Saturday, how bad could it get for you? But Graham Antema, the transfer, comes in and says, hey, I got it, guys. Settles the team down, throws dynamite Saturday.
He was good.
And everything settled down after that. And your pitching from Antema on was fantastic.
Well, you're right. You had to have Antema get out there and control the game.
Settle everything down.
And then you started hitting. So
5-1 Saturday, a bomb fest Sunday.
And Arizona State just didn't have the depth pitching-wise to hang in there with Colton Ledbetter and Dakota Jordan and Ross Highfield. And
Hunter Hines showed up this weekend. I mean, it felt like...
And Hunter needed to.
Everything that went wrong for you Friday, you were able to flip on Saturday and Sunday. It's got to be a positive sign. It's. I mean, as much as I wasn't ready to just write the team off after the first week,
it's okay.
You're not going to write this team into Omaha after this weekend either.
No.
But you had to see guys step up, and I thought Saturday and Sunday you saw that.
I agree, and also some mid-relief and closers pitched very well.
Literally everyone who took the bump after that Saturday start.
And you didn't throw Lofton or Sinjay. And they're ready for tomorrow.
Which is...
against Southern Miss.
Yeah. We talk about this as people in Mississippi all the time. We know when Southern plays State, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
For them, it's a huge deal. It's a measuring stick opportunity in any sport because it's a kind of a little brother syndrome type thing going on.
All those kids feel like they got passed over by Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Or most of them.
Yeah. Whether that's real or not.
Right.
But they're going to look to get that game on Tuesday in Pearl. You have Sanjay and Lofton ready to go. You didn't have to use them, and you got 2 out of 3 wins against Arizona State. Again, we talked about it Thursday and Friday. Would you like to sweep? Of course, but you had to go 2-1.
And
you had to go.
You had to
2-1.
win the series.
Yep.
And they did. And credit to Lamonis, Gautreaux, Foxhall, and the players. Some things have kind of quieted on Foxhall for now. I mean, it'll come back here any minute. Next loss. Yeah. Locked on Mississippi State, Bo Bounds, Blake Scott. It was a big weekend for MSU in that they won their basketball game and they won their baseball series. And now Blake and I were talking about how they'll play Southern Miss tomorrow. And then they'll go out to Texas and they'll play, what'd you tell me, Ohio State and somebody in Cal?
Ohio State, Oklahoma, national runner-up from last year, and Cal in the Frisco Classic. That's right. So look, we say this all the time. Every week's a big week. Every game's a big game. When you build a $90 million stadium, that's the Taj Mahal of college baseball.
Right.
When you try to pay your coaches at the upper echelon of college baseball, when you have prided yourself on being a Omaha team that never had a title and you finally got that title, everything. This is Alabama football, right? We talk about it all the time in the fall when Alabama's talking football. Fans wake up on a Tuesday morning and they're talking about third string right tackles and whether or not Saban's locked in.
No doubt.
That's Mississippi State baseball.
Yeah.
More than any other sport, Mississippi State fans wake up and they go, what do we have in the middle relief innings?
And what happened last year was not acceptable, going 26-30.
Yep.
And that's also, that's why people were freaking out as much as they were early. So we'll see if they can put themselves in position to continue to be in the hunt for a regional. They've got to, or it will get real dicey.
But it's early, and you answered.
They did answer the bell.
Especially how easy it would have been for things to fall apart after Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easy to lump onto Chris Lamonis and the coaching staff and the leaders of the team. I'll say in air quotes, somewhat jokingly, but you could have easily let things fall apart. And that's why I think the fact that you had a transfer in Grandma and Timma from community college come in and pitch the way he did on Saturday. And look at the newcomers who've hit the baseball through 2 weeks. Amani Larry's been hitting well. Colton Ledbetter looks like a freak.
Was that a shot or what, that grand slam?
He swung the bat, and everyone in the state of Mississippi knew it was out.
Give credit to that young man. That was, and they did it all up and down the lineup.
Yes.
On Sunday,
Lane Forsythe hit a home run.
He did hit a home run.
I mean, if you knew hell was freezing over, that's the sign right there. Lane Forsythe with his second career home run.
Dakota Jordan
might be the best baseball player to ever touch foot on campus. That's a scary statement to make, I know, because of how storied this program is. Dakota Jordan's a freak, and I hate to put that on him, but he's a freak.
Pound, he may be the most talented. Actually, it may be, yes, he is the most talented guy to ever step foot on campus.
Still a lot left to go there.
Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro were not only unbelievable at Mississippi State, but they had really, really, really good pro careers.
Yep. And you've had other guys who were amazing in college and didn't have the pro career.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, obviously, Jake Mangum and Tanner Allen haven't had a chance to have their pro careers, but both recent guys who were fantastic. We can think of tons of pitchers as well.
They went 20 years without really having a hitter.
Yep.
In Major League Baseball. Bo Bounds, Blake Scott, Locked on Mississippi State podcast. And thanks again for making Locked on Mississippi State your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked on College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked on College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.